you didn't forget and not shut off the Anon, because I don't know if you remember, I guess a couple of years ago, I left that on, and it did something to it that I could not get it to connect again. Nothing to the Anon, but something to the program. So I actually gave it back to Joseph, and he found the issue, and by the time I got home, he had corrected it, but I didn't get around to picking it up for another year for one reason or another, and I just used a little Lenovo that I bought at Best Buy for, it was like $350 and i5.
Yeah, I don't know. It sure messed stuff up for me, and I wasn't the only one. And it wasn't just Flex Radio. There was a lot of other people running mixers and stuff like that on their computer, and it messed up their stuff too. So it's kind of typical for Windows. It's just that this time it messed up a lot more, it seemed like.
Well, maybe that's it, maybe it's related to that. I'm going to go and make sure that auto updates, like I'm doing it right now. And where is that?
If you go to settings and just type in Windows Update, it'll come up.
Yeah, I'm looking at updates. Just check for updates. Never check for updates is what I have. Not recommended. Yet it did.
Well, with let's see, of course, I'm on Windows 10, but Windows 10, you have to take the updates, but you can defer them, which is the best thing to do.
Oh, look at this. It says, install new updates every day at 3 a.m. Well, it's around 3 a.m. that happened.
Oh, well, I guess that answers your question in it, and it could turn itself on.
And what's checked is it says allow all users to install updates on this computer, but
usually
might. Oh, it says note, Windows Update might update itself automatically first and checking for other updates. Reads our privacy statement online. Nice.
Well, I haven't verified this myself, but it's my understanding that, let's see, how does this work? You can defer the updates. Eventually you'll be forced to take them. But I think the way it works is you can leave the updates on, and that way it updates your antivirus continually. But I think any big update, like this last one, 1803, the Creators Update, I don't think it'll update that automatically. I think it'll give you the option to do it if you go looking for it, but it won't make you take it for a while because they know that there's so many different systems and they don't like to force it on anybody. It gives them more of a chance to fine-tune it as the problems start coming in. But from what you described, it sure sounds like what I went through. Mine updated to 1803.
Update history. It shows one on 5/9/2018 today. Windows Defender. Wow. I know I didn't do that. I did it on its own. Then 5.5 was the one that came up with the exception, and did it again on 4/18, and then on 2/18. And then after that, there's a whole page of 2017 that are, gosh, one day it looked like it did about maybe 50 updates or more.
Wow. What version are you using, John?
That's 7.
7. Yeah. Well, I guess everything I said doesn't apply then to what you're doing, because I don't think 7 you're forced into updates or any of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, overall it's worked pretty well. This is the only computer I've ever had that turns itself on after you shut it off.
Well, that is an interesting thing that it does that, but I would think that would be on the motherboard BIOS that does that.
I've looked everywhere. I thought I had that cured, but evidently not.
I'm sure you have looked everywhere.
Yeah, I just might go back to shutting the power supply off, just reaching behind it, flipping the switch. There's no turning it on then.
Well, yeah, that's right.
That's what I used to do.
You could always put a timer on it to where it shuts off at a certain time at night, and the timer clicks it back on in the morning whenever you think you might want to use it again.
Yeah. I think it's fine. I mean, overall, I'll probably just shut it down. It's pretty strange, though.
It is. I mean, if you knew why, it'd be okay, but for it to come on without knowing why is kind of interesting and frustrating at the same time when you don't want it to do that.
Yeah, you come in and I'm looking at there's one screen running with, the background page. That is pretty strange.
Worse yet, if you come in and it's broken, it won't work.
And it didn't.
Yeah, that's what Windows is known for.
It didn't. I was like, really? Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, this, or no matter what radio I'm running, the SDR monitors everything. This is my piece of test equipment that I'm using most of the time to look at the signal quality.
Not if Redmond, Washington gets involved.
Redmond, Washington. Okay, what is that? Where Windows came from?
Yeah, that's where Microsoft's headquartered at.
Yeah.
And that changes everything.
Yeah. Oh well. As long as I can get it back running, I'm not really too worried, but I'd rather not go through that if I can help it.
No, it just seems like a big waste of time.
And it is a big waste of time.
Yeah, because it was already working just fine.
Yeah, just leave it alone. Just leave it alone and let me do what I need to do here. Well, now I'll have to, when I get up early one of these mornings, I'll go look at the other programs, the ones that use VAC, and see if they're still operating or if I have a new issue.
Yeah, you might. I hope you don't, but you might find that you do.
Well, like I said, I went back to recover, and it made this work. I mean, it was really strange, Dan. I mean, the whole bandwidth of the screen, no matter where I set it, for Zoom, the whole thing would lift up. There was, I could see the signal, but if you went to listen to it, it was just garbage.
Yeah, that's weird. I can't even begin to guess what Windows would have did to it, but obviously one of the updates didn't work if you had to recover it to get it working good. I'm just glad it worked for you, because I have found that the recovery mode doesn't always recover. It'll say it's recovering, and then then right when it finishes, it says it can't do it.
Yep, and I've run into that too, but fortunately this time it appeared to work and everything just took off, and, all of a sudden I had a regular signal.
Well, I'm glad that's the case, John, because it's not always the case for me.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And you just don't...
The only ones that are on here, you don't hear Bud on there or anything. I'm not hearing Bud if he's on there.
I'm not hearing anybody. Is anybody else out there tonight? Dead silence.
Yeah, maybe there aren't very many people. Are you looking at bandwidth that you can see if there are other users on 160?
I don't see anybody from 1860 to 1950.
That's funny. That's about where I'm looking. It's about the way I like to look at everything. So when I'm looking at, right now I'm looking at 2.9 kilohertz of bandwidth, which just is pretty well filling. That gives me a picture. The grayed out area is basically three horizontal squares, vertical squares, and that comprises about 1.5 inches of the screen width.
I like that too. It gives me a good picture of what's going on above and below me. And usually if I'm going to get a splatter or something, they're usually within that field of view.
Okay, and it looks like I'm on frequency. I'm not sure. Since this, I can look here. Does it sound like it's about right?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, it had actually moved about 8 or 9 hertz.
I was going to say that's pretty close because I couldn't hear it, but then I think where's my low filter, receive filter set here? So my low's at 100, so, well, I wouldn't have heard it at all.
Yeah, I know that it moved. I talked to Scott, he said I'd moved, and sure enough, I was off like 50 hertz last week.
Well, 10 cycles one way or the other doesn't amount to anything.
Yeah, it doesn't, but this has been on for a while because I made some final changes to the converter. Took some pictures so I can update the pictures to the latest, and then I think I'll draw a schematic of it and put it in my service manual area so I'll be able to look at it sometime later if I need it for some reason. Or maybe I'll just put it in the KWS1 folder. Probably put one there. But, yeah.
Well, it sounds like a good idea. That way you'll have it handy.
Yep. Hold on a second here. I think I'm going to just switch over for a minute to the directly to the SDR.
Okay. KM60Q.
W60AX. Okay. Whoa, that sounds weird. Okay, there we are. I'm on the SDR. Whoa. Like twice the output.
Wow. I mean, your signal definitely went up, but what's interesting to me, I really didn't hear any difference in your voice. Your tone quality, it all sounds the same.
Well, it should be almost exactly, in fact, it is exactly the same in terms of bandwidth. However, with pure signal, it looks like a wall on either side of it.
Well, you'll have to go back and listen to the stream later and see, because you can go to where you switched over and the tone and everything sounds the same. It's just the output was much higher.
Okay, yeah, it's doubled basically doubled the output almost just because the drive level changed. Same amplifier, everything. I just flipped a switch here and that's all there was to it. It's real easy.
Well, I would say that you got your you have the call-ins dialed in very well, John, because how much newer is this radio talking on? It sounds the same. quite a few years.
What is that now?
How much newer is your Annan compared to your Collins?
Let's see. At least 60 years.
And the Collins sounds as good as the Annan.
Yeah, boy, that's a great, that's a great transmitter. And, you know, once I made those changes that Jim suggested regarding the frequency, and I got it back on, you know, back to the lower sideband. Now, remember I told you there was a slight difference between lower and upper sideband due to the fact the mechanical filter had drifted a couple hundred hertz. And I wasn't able to pull the upper sideband where it needed to be, you know, moving the crystal frequency. So lower sideband is where it should be. And I think that you noted that it didn't sound quite as good. The lower end, I didn't have as much lower end.
Yep, you didn't.
I was using upper sideband in order to get lower sideband because the mixing scheme was the opposite. Instead of going in high, let's see, I went in on 80 meters originally and then came out on 160. Now I go in on, or went in on 21.1 megs, M1110, and then came out on 160. So I'm mixing that with a 19.2 megahertz crystal, and that ended up keeping the sideband the same, and the tuning on the transmitter is the same direction, the direction you want it to go. You know, turning it to the right makes it go to a higher frequency, and to the left, the lower frequency. So that was definitely worthwhile, and of course the amount of products went from something to nothing.
Yeah, well, that was definitely the right thing to do. I mean, when you had the other one on, I noticed right away that it was different. And I remember you saying, "How it can't be different." And then I remember when it hit you, and you knew.
Yeah. Now all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, its upper sideband isn't where it needs to be. It's the best I could make it. It was what was available, but I can't move it to where it needs to be to fit within the bandwidth of that mechanical filter. It's just off. It's not even off, I don't think 200 hertz, but it's off over 100 anyway. Maybe 150.
Yeah, well, now it's right. And the last bit of proof on that was when you just switched to the Annan a while ago, and the amplitude changed, and that was it.
Yeah, so what you should see is it's double the output. So it's over 1,000 watts output, 1,033 here. Peaks, and the other one was running about, I don't know, about 500 to 600.
Yeah, it was definitely noticeable. I was just, I was really satisfied to see the output go up so much, but it sounded the same. That was perfect.
Yeah, that makes me feel good that, wow, that's what it should look like. And then I've looked at the IMD, and it's down like 35, 40 dB. But I thought, well, what can I do to improve that, which is why I took it apart today, to make sure I wasn't overdriving the mixer. So I took out the last attenuator I had in there so I could drive it with less power. And it really didn't make any difference. I looked at it again I looked at the 15-meter signal, you know, what the KWS-1 looks like on the frequency that I'm going into it with, and it's exactly the same. I'm not making anything. There are no more products than there is on the transceiver or the transmitter with the frequency that's going in. So it's a mirrored output.
Well, it's very good. You figured it out, John, because it's exactly the way it should sound.
Yeah,
and
good as it can be, but this is definitely better.
Well, it's a little newer.
Yeah, it's only, what is it, 60 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, this, I think my S1 is one of the last 100 or so that were built. That might make it 57, so it's like 61 years, like that.
It's amazing that it's something that old still works, really.
I was looking at a lot of cars that were that old or older, some over 100 years old today.
It must have been fun.
Yeah, it was really good because my wife's cousin Donnie is exactly my age, and he grew up with my wife's brother Jan, which I don't think you ever met him, but you know who he is. Lives in Nashville, and it's just great talking with him. We had a lot of fun. We went over to their place. They have a whole bunch of acres. I don't know. It's a lot. His wife's family Staldi, owned at one time, I don't know, perhaps thousands of acres. But it's considerably less now. But they bought her mother's house, and they're relocating there from the house that they currently have over in Placerville. They have a slow process. They have to sell that one. A bunch of other houses they've had to sell. But just a down-to-earth guy that was a lot of fun as a kid, is what I understand. And he'll contagious laughter, and just a great guy. He worked his career for the state of California, the state UC system, as their Sac State, LA, or Sac State, Sacramento, as their construction, I think, supervisor or manager. Oh, he's retired. I think he retired about the same time I did, same age.
Yeah, it sounds like a great time. Interesting fella.
Yeah, it was just fun. He's got a lot of good memories, and we have a lot of the same information from that same period of time. Turns out, I was wondering about him. He asked me today, what my political affiliation was, and I said, well, I'm definitely conservative. He says, God, I was wondering. I kind of figured you were. Maybe that's even better. To not be walking on eggshells with other family members.
Oh yeah, it is. I mean, you never know anymore.
You always have some that for some reason don't see things the same way.
Yeah, and generally they're the ones that get offended the easiest, and you don't want to do that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I was actually really pleased to hear that.
Yeah.
We were talking about guns and other things.
Yeah, sounds nice.
It was good. Like talking to you.
Likewise, John. Well, we had a kind of a whirlwind weekend last weekend. I think I told you my daughter was here on Saturday, and or she got here Friday, I think it was. Friday. Did I talk to you guys? No, she got here last Saturday. That's right. I went to the breakfast meeting last Saturday. That's why I didn't talk to you guys.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, sorry about that. I can't remember what I when I told you when I didn't. So anyway, I went to the breakfast meeting last Saturday, and that was nice. And then my daughter Laura got here from Texas about 2 in the afternoon. She had flown in to Abilene last Wednesday, I think, from Abilene to Sacramento because her best friend got married, Alex. And so she flew for that. And she had to go through the wedding party and all that because she was in it, you know. So after the reception on Saturday, then she came up here. We actually met her at the airport so she could return the rental car there Saturday afternoon and save a few dollars on the fees. And then, let's see, Saturday night, we got my son together and we all went out for dinner and had a really nice time, came back to the house and had a great evening. And then, so I wasn't on Sunday because she was occupying my radio room, which was fine with me. And then Sunday, what did we do? I made breakfast for everybody. And we went to Tahoe for the day. Went to one of her favorite places for lunch. And then, let's see, we got home about 4 or 5 that night. Had kind of a light dinner. And then I saw her for a while on Monday. And then her and Esther, on the way to the airport, came to the office, I guess about 11 o'clock Monday. So we all went out for lunch, you know, for one last little get-together. And then she got back to Abilene about 9:30 her time. So we packed a whole lot of stuff into a few short days, but it was really fun. We had a nice time. It was so good to see her. She didn't bring the kids, you know, her husband stayed with the kids because she just came out for the wedding, but we had a really nice time. It was kind of cool because we kind of had her all to ourselves.
That's something you haven't done in a long time, I'll bet.
Oh, a really long time. It was kind of fun because it was like she was just our daughter again. Not that you know, it was just an experience we don't have often.
Oh, I'm really happy for you. That's great. Glad you got to experience that.
Yeah, it was a blast, and she's doing really well. And they sold their house. You know, they had that nice house back there, and they just sold it because I know I told you he's going to flight school.
He's going to flight school?
Didn't I tell you that?
Oh.
So my son-in-law, well, you knew that he was, I don't know what his job title was, but he had his own B-1 bomber crew. He was the head mechanic. He's the one that guided all those guys. And then they put him in the office, and he got him off the flight line, and he was just doing all academic stuff, teaching mechanics. He's, I think he's 29. So then they came to him, and his general that signed off on his last training was so impressed with him, he offered him flight school, said, "Are you interested?" And he said, "Yes." So at that point, they knew they were going to move. He signed all the papers he had to sign. And in February next year, he starts officer training because you got to go through officer training, and that's like 6 weeks. And that's going to be in probably Oklahoma, but they're not for sure. So they had to be all out of their house by then. But somebody they knew wanted to buy their house, so they decided to just go ahead and do it now. And that way they'd be kind of 6 months ahead of schedule of being moved out and everything. So they got 2 more weeks in their house, and then they're living in a house on base. And they'll do that for the rest of the year. And then in February, he starts officer training. Then after that 6 weeks is up, then there's 5 different places in the country that he could be placed for flight school. Flight school lasts for a year.
What's he going to fly, or do you know?
He doesn't know yet, but he did tell me that basically when you graduate flight school, they take everybody who graduates, and those who did the best on down get to pick where they want to go. So if you're at the top, then you pick any airframe you want. If you're at the bottom, then you get the airframe that's left to fly.
Wow, I hope he's at the top.
Yeah, I think he's got a good chance of being up there somewhere. The reason they offered it to him because he scored like 94% in his class when they tested him. So he's probably got a good chance.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Wow. Yeah, and then that oh, is he going to stay in there? Well, of course, that's going to, once he's officer OTS, then, that jumps his pay up dramatically.
Oh, you already got the lingo down. So it's I was going to say OTS, but I forgot you were in, so you would know that. So, yeah, OTS is February. So, yeah, if he goes in, then he'll be a lifer. I mean, what else are you going to do? He did tell me that a lot of guys get out of flying because the airlines are paying about 3 times now what the military's paying. So I guess there is that option.
Yeah, I mean, but he probably has to sign up for another 6 years minimum, doesn't he?
I didn't ask, but I'm sure you're right. They're not going to put a lot of time into a guy that's going to, do a hit and run.
Hey, we're talking about $1 million flight school.
Is that really?
Yeah. The training in the flight school is around $1 million.
Wow. You can't put a price on that, as somebody learning to fly.
It's not your normal kind of deal.
Oh, I wouldn't think it would be.
So, yeah, they say the Air Force puts about $1 million into your training. He could end up doing anything. 29, he's getting older now to fly some of the higher performance tests like the F-35 Raptor, but still, I mean, he could definitely be a bomber pilot. Who knows?
Yeah, he's so excited. I can't even tell you how excited he is, John.
Oh, man, I would be too.
Yeah.
We're exciting. What an opportunity. I'm glad he's taken it.
Yeah, so am I, because it's really it'd be good for him and just in so many different ways, and Laura.
Yeah, I mean, he could still fly in. He could go do that for 15 years and still pop out and have another career after that till he's He'll let you fly to your 60 or 65 for the airline. So that's another way to end.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe that's what he will do. Right now, I don't even think he's looking at that. I think he's just all excited. He's always wanted to fly fighter planes or something. So here's his opportunity, and I'm sure he'll do good. He's a very smart guy.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, my son always wanted to fly into it. Thought it'd be great to fly the fighter pilots or the fighter jets. Sometimes there's a limitation to height for that. How tall is he?
Taller than me. I don't. He's probably 6 foot.
6 foot. I mean, maybe about the limit for some of the fighter planes.
They're kind of small cockpits.
To be, they wanted shorter people. I think there's some positives to being shorter, especially for the fighter pilots, in terms of the suits. The pressurized suits.
Oh.
Some of the maneuvers are like it can be up to 9 Gs or more.
Wow. If you're taller, that affects you more?
It's just more difficult to have it work properly. The pressurized suits inflate quickly. This is what I understand. So, in many cases, it used to be, you couldn't be too tall and be a pilot. So, maybe now things have changed somewhat because people are bigger than they used to be.
I don't know what the pressurized suits do. Is this something to offset the Gs by putting pressure on you? Yeah,
basically it squeezes your body, your legs and stuff, in proportion to the G amount that you're pulling, and it keeps the blood up in your brain so it doesn't drain from your head and you don't pass out.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I see. That makes sense. It's kind of like the stuff they use for people that get therapy that have had back injuries.
Well, if that guy that crashed his P-51 had a G-suit, if they had one even available for that, they don't. If they had that provision, he probably wouldn't have passed out when those stabilizers broke.
Oh. That would have probably made a big difference in the outcome then.
Yeah, I mean, he would have not passed out, so that probably wouldn't have happened. However, he still might have crashed because I don't think there's any way to control it.
Well, let's see, the stabilizer, what is that?
On the tail. Horizontal stabilizer.
Oh, that's not the thing that gives you lift, is it?
Oh, they modify those, the unlimited aircraft for, they trim them, they shorten the wings sometimes and the stabilizers, and just try to get the drag down as much as they can.
Oh, I see, and they're probably more agile and responsive.
I think they should have pictures of it actually breaking off. And talking to my son, of course, is the jet pilot. He says if that happens, it's just going to pull straight up, and he wasn't surprised that he would pass out.
Yeah, at that speed.
Especially at the speed you're kind of flying along pretty fast.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Wouldn't it be something else if he ends up flying the bombers he was working on? What a great pilot to have that used to be had a crew to work on those things, you know.
Yeah, B-1 is quite the airplane. Have you ever been around them flying?
I want to say yes, but I'm not sure. And I have to remember, I always get it mixed up, but he was at Dyess Air Force Base, and Dyess and North Dakota are the only two places that fly these bombers. Does that tell you if it's a B-1 or a B-2?
You know, I don't know if where they fly them, but I remember I took my son out to Cleveland, and they had a B-1 there that they had, pull vertical over the field, and they went to full afterburners on the thing, and it was so loud. I remember when they fired it up, the field out there, I'm sure you've been there, but it's basically grass in between the runways, and it's full of rabbits. And when they did that, all the rabbits jumped up in the air. You saw we're talking about hundreds of rabbits that jumped up at the same time.
Wow. Must have just shook the ground and scared them out.
Oh, it was deafening. It was so loud.
Wow. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's quite an impressive airplane.
I'm just looking on their webpage right now. The B-1, that's the long, narrow one?
It's got a long nose like a mosquito. Who is the breaker?
Kilowatt Golf 6 Sugar Victor Foxtrot. You're the only one that I hear. You got Dave, Delta Alpha Victor Echo. I am in Stockton, California, and I was hoping I can get a signal report or something. I just put together a tri-band antenna, and this is the first time I've heard somebody on 160. Roger.
Oh, okay. I think you said your name was Dave. You are 59+5 in Placerville.
Okay, I kind of bumped the dog on VFO. Did you say 59+5, Roger?
Yeah, 59+5. What kind of power are you running?
I'm running 100 watts, FTDX 3K, Roger.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, I'm running 10 times that. So I don't know how you're copying me, but I'm copying you fine from Stockton, and that's pretty close. think the actual miles from here is probably 70 or something miles.
Hey, Roger. Yeah, I've got you at a peak of 3 solid on most cases. It's only up about 32 feet at the apex right now. Still kind of trying to tweak it in. I've got 40 and 80 fairly good. 160 needs a little bit of work, but the radio tuner seems to be working on it.
Okay, and you're not hearing Dan, KM60Q over in Nevada?
No, negative.
Wow, Dan, can you hear him?
Yeah, Dave, I'm hearing you, Dave. You're about an S7 over here, and I'm in Washoe Valley, which is between Carson City and Reno, and I'm running about 500 watts, Dave. Do you copy?
Do you copy that, Dave?
No, negative. I don't hear him. I'm sorry.
What's your noise level?
Let me change my meter.
By the way, mine's running about a S6 tonight, John, a little bit higher than normal here.
But I do hear a lot of static.
Okay, so your meter's sitting where?
Okay, I've got a kilowatt 6 Alpha Whiskey Alpha.
Yeah, Roger. Good evening. This is Joe, kilowatt 6 Alpha Whiskey Alpha, and I just turned on the radio, and you guys are all coming in 20 over S9. You must be pretty close, over.
Kilo 6 Alpha Whiskey Alpha, Kilo Golf 6 Sugar Victor Foxtrot. I'm just passing through. I'm doing a antenna check. I just put a 160 meter up, and this is the first time I've heard anybody on it.
Where are you located?
Stockton, California, Roger.
Roger, Stockton. Okay, well, I'm up in Santa Rosa, so what do we got, about 150 miles?
Yeah, I know Santa Rosa. And what'd you say the S unit was?
You're about 20 over S9.
Okay, appreciate it. Hang on a second. I don't want to take over the band. This was somebody else's. The first gentleman, I didn't get your name or call sign.
This is W6 Delta Alpha X-ray in Placerville, and I copy the gentleman in Santa Rosa as well. You're not real strong. Dan, over in Washoe Valley, KM60Q, are you copying, I think it was Joe? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm copying Joe over in Santa Rosa. Joe, you're about an S7, Joe. You're about 6 dB above the noise floor for me, so it's not an easy copy, but I can make out what you're saying. Kind of surprised, actually. The band's kind of quiet over here, so I can hear you, Joe. Anyway, this is Dan in Washoe Valley, Nevada, between Reno and Carson City. And I'll turn it over to you, Joe, see if you're hearing me. Whiskey 6, AWA, KM6CQ.
Were you copying Dan? Go ahead.
If Dan would talk a little longer, I've got a rotating magnetic loop that I'm going to try to pull him in a little better with. Over.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll chat a little bit longer while you rotate that thing around a little bit. So it sounds like you're probably using one of those receiving loops then, and you're using a different transmit antenna then. So, but yeah, you're 6 dB above the noise floor, Joe, and I can hear everything you're saying. So that's pretty good. Let's see if I talked long enough for you.
Oh, were you able to copy Dan?
Okay, well, this is Joe, K6AWA. Yeah, Dan, I got you there for a while, but you're kind of going up and down. You know, it's that time of evening. The sun's just gone down, so I think there's another, half hour.
Yeah, okay, Joe, I understand. I was watching John's signal here go up and down. He was going from like 15 over down to S8 a couple of times there, just watching the band fluctuate. But so far I've been able to copy everything that you said, Joe. KM6CQ.
Dan said he's been able to copy everything you said, Joe. Go ahead.
Okay, Dan. Well, Dan, can you guys relay Dan's call to me, over?
Were you asking Dan's call? It's kilowatt Mary 6, Charlie, Quebec, KM6CQ is his call. Mine is W6 Delta Alpha X-ray, and I'm in Placerville.
Okay, W6 Delta Alpha X-ray, and what's your name?
The name here is John. Go ahead.
Okay, John, W6DAX, copy you, and Dan is KM6DQ, copy him. And who was the other fellow that was on? He was really moving in. He said he just got on the air, KG6 something.
That was Dave. Go ahead, Dave.
Sugar Victor Foxtrot, Dave in Stockton. Roger.
What was the call again, Dave?
Kilowatt Germany 6, Sugar Victor Foxtrot. Kilowatt Golf 6, Sugar Victor Foxtrot. Roger.
Go ahead.
Yeah, copy you, Dave. KG6SCF, good copy on you. So the only person that's light here for me is Dan, over.
Okay, very good. Yeah, he's in Washoe Valley over in Nevada. So, yeah, and Dan and I are running some power. I'm running a kilowatt output to a full-size dipole. Dan is running a 500-plus foot loop, about 500 watts.
Roger that. Yeah, well, I'm running about, let's see, about 70 watts. I'm on battery power and running into a big delta loop. The apex is set up at the apex about 70 feet and 450 LCP line back to the shack, over.
And what's the size of the loop?
Well, it originally started out as an inverted V that was cut for 75 meters, and it was, a top bed inverted V. And then I wanted to use it for 160 meters, so I put a leg across the bottom, which made it a delta loop. And that wouldn't tune, so I put a resonator coil in the middle, and I kept adding turns until I got the SWR down to basically 1.0 to 1 on this frequency, and I didn't have any extra space. The bottom leg is about 100 feet long, so that's all the space I had, so that's why I use it. I'm going to call it a It's just adding electrical links to the antenna, over.
Oh, it would be a choke, so it's a coil to shorten the antenna effectively.
Or you can look at it as adding links to the antenna, because that's what the antenna needed, was extra links, over.
Yeah, but you typically you're adding inductance to the antenna, which in effect doesn't make a receiver transmit any better. But it makes it match. So it's good. Yeah, it's working fine. So the overall length of the antenna, is it still a full-size 80-meter dipole, or is it a delta?
Well, it's a delta loop right now. I've got alligator clips at each end at the bottom of the triangle, so I can disconnect that. Because on 20 and 10 meter, it works a lot better just being an inverted V. But on anything below 20 meters, it works quite well with the bottom leg in, and especially on 160 meters, it's oriented east and west, so the signal that's going out of it is strongest in the north and the south, and sure has proved to be true, because I've gotten a lot of signal medical reports down in Mexico and South America over F9 and up through Vancouver and into Alaska of over F9. Over.
Oh, that's good. And then the shunt the coil that you put in, is that across the feed line?
No. The feed line piece, if you think of it as a triangle, just sitting on the base of the triangle is about 8 feet off the ground, and then the apex of the triangle, the top point that's where I'm feeding it with 450 ohm feed line. So the resonator, that's what I'm calling it, is down at the center point of the antenna on the bottom leg, on the base of the triangle. And it's about 130 turns of 10 gauge wire on a 3-inch Schedule 40 PVC tube. And actually there's 2 resonators because 130 turns wasn't enough, so I added another one that's got about 70 turns. They're in series, and they're just part of the antenna, and they just make the whole dang antenna longer. I figured I'd have a lot of loss in those things, but it doesn't seem to be the case at all, at least down on the program.
Okay, I got you. You put it in the bottom leg, and you've got 3-inch, so that's pretty really high Q. Is it form bar coated wire, enamel coated wire, or what is it?
No, it's just the whole antenna's been made in 10 gauge strand and standard, electrical wire for conduit. I'm an electrical contractor, so I have a lot of it.
Yeah, that's fine. It's kind of stiff and it'll sag some, but I've got a ground system made up of 12 gauge THHN. It's obviously working, and it's close space. They're one turn next to the other.
Yeah, right against each other. So now that I do run an amplifier on it. I have tried running the amp. I've got a 600 watt amp, but I haven't needed it, and I don't know why 160 is so efficient right now. It must be some kind of atmospheric conditions. Boy, 100 just really booming on 160.
That's good. I'm glad it's working. Dan, are you still copying him?
Yeah, I am still able to pull him out. He stayed right about the same, about 6 to 8 dB above the noise floor.
Oh, well, 70 watts, he's doing really well. Joe, obviously 160 meters is a band that usually requires a decent amount of power. 500 watts or more to make consistent, decent quality contact. So you're doing real well with 70 watts as well as you are, Dave, with 100 watts. That's doing really well.
Hey, Roger. Well, I do have an amp over here. It's just not turned on or tuned up to this frequency or this band. The gentleman you were talking to, I apologize. I did not get his call or his name.
Name is Joe, Juliet Oscar Echo. I'm up in Santa Rosa, Northern California, and the call is Kilo 6 Alpha Whiskey Alpha.
Oh, okay. I got you. I got myself confused here. Okay, Joe, you said I was, 20 plus S9, Roger?
Well, you're about S9 up here, but one of the other stations, I think that was KT6 Sierra Victor Foxtrot Dave. He was peaking at 20 over S9 over.
Yeah, you're speaking with Dave right now, Roger.
Okay, so Dave, you went down, so you're just a little over S9 now, but still real good copy over.
Okay, that's just conditions, and I put this thing together a couple of weeks ago. It's 40, 80, and 160, all with 14 gauge wire. I turned the coils myself with enamel wire, 1.25 inch PVC. approximately, I've got it written down here somewhere, I believe 50 turns for the 80 meter and about 123, somewhere in that area, for the 160 meter. And total length is somewhere around 120 feet. But I still got a little bit of tuning to do for this band. I am finding this very, very narrow banded, so I'm going to have to put my merge tuner back in line to handle where I go with this thing.
Are those just coils without shunt caps?
I'm sorry, say again?
Are those just coils or are those traps?
No, they're coils. The feed line goes in one end, attaches to the enamel wire, and then comes out the other end, Roger.
Okay, all right. So you've done the same thing that Dave has done there, or excuse me, that Joe's done. You're using an inductor to shorten the antenna effectively. And you end up with, obviously narrower bandwidth doing it that way. And traps would narrow your bandwidth on the higher frequencies as well.
Well, so far it's working. I do appreciate the time getting away from your jet talk. I do enjoy the old aircraft. That's not for me, so I'm not going to worry about it. That's always for the YL. But I do appreciate the information on this, and it gives me something to write down and go with. Roger.
Ah, well, we're both got decent signals here at S9 or roughly around S9. So that's very good, especially at the low power level you're both running.
Well, I'll get you both in the logbook, John and Joe. I'll get you both in the logbook here as my first 160 contact, hopefully the first of many. I appreciate it. You guys have a great evening. I'm going to get this thing in the log and do a few more things here. Kilowatt, Golf 6, Sugar Victor Fox in the group. Thank you.
Okay, Dave, you have a very nice evening. Go ahead over there, Joe. I'm located in Placerville. Go ahead.
Placerville, okay. Gold country. All right. Well, what's your altitude up there?
It's about 2,000 feet. We're on a ridge that overlooks the valley on one side and then out toward the Sierras on the other.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a spectacular spot. Can you see the Sierras from there?
I can. There are places that I can see the Crystal Range, but there's another mountain in between me that obscures most of the Crystal Range. But I can see off toward the north and the northeast. Out, I don't know, 50 miles or so, and then of course toward the valley area.
Oh wow, that's really incredible. What a spot. So is the snow melting, or is the snow all gone by now?
What was that?
Has the snow all disappeared by now?
Oh no, there's plenty of snow up in the Crystal Range.
Oh yeah. Is there going to be a lot of water coming down this year? Is that what they're figuring?
I think it's a reasonable amount of water. I think there's somewhere around 80%.
Well, that sounds pretty darn good compared to what we've had in the past. I know we had some pretty good storms move through Northern California here, so I know the Sierra must have got some of it.
Yeah, now last year was 200%, but this year I think it's around 80% now because we had a real good March.
Okay, roger that. Sorry I doubled with you. Sound like you had a real good March. Over.
Yeah, that's correct. We did. We had a good March, and that made things a little better. We've got a good share of rain here. Now we're at the lower portion of the Sierras, a couple thousand feet, like I mentioned. It's a good location. You know, I really like it here. It works just fine. Antennas are not very high. I think the highest antenna is somewhere around 30-some feet in the air. I'm using oak trees to support most of them, except for the HF beam, which is up about 36 feet on a Glen Martin roof tower. So it works good enough. I think probably the takeoff angle is better because property moves at about a 60% grade out the back.
Yeah, 60%. That's pretty steep. Can you drive up that steep of grade?
I'm not going to do that. That's just the lower section of the property that I keep cleared for fire. I've got solar down there. That was enough trouble putting solar on it.
A lot of rock up there.
That's almost all rock.
Oh, Roger. Yeah. Granite, no doubt.
Oh, it's serpentine of some sort. Rocks up to many hundreds of pounds. You can't dig anything here without coming up with more rocks than it appears there is dirt. Nonetheless, my wife's got a beautiful backyard, about an acre planted and watered. I do the irrigation portion of it all, and got all kinds of stuff, including a garden running back there. So it just takes a little more work to do it.
Yeah. Well, you still have gophers up there in that rock?
Gophers, there are some across in the pasture across the street, but very few here.
Yeah, well, where I am, it's all adobe, and the flat Santa Rosa Valley, and boy, we got gophers this year coming out our ears. It looks like the place is Swiss cheese over.
Yeah, my son lives in Santa Rosa. I'm familiar with your area.
Yeah, wow. Well, I was listening on the radio earlier. I was driving home from work, and I was listening to a gal describe her house being swallowed up by a lava crevice in Hawaii, and she was watching it on a drone. Somebody was flying a drone over the neighborhood, and they put a feed, I guess, on the internet, and she was able to watch it. She was able to see her house just sink down into the lava and then explode into flames. She said the whole house ignited almost instantly, the whole place. And then in about 15 minutes, it just completely disappeared, and there was a lava lake where her house used to be.
That sounds awful. Let me turn it over to you, Dan.
Okay, well, I'm still hearing both you guys good. The SFV station has come way up. Propagation's getting better, and Joe over there in Santa Rosa, I'm hearing you just fine still, copying everything, and your system is working good for you. If you had a little more power, it'd be good, but I can hear you on 70 watts. You're doing pretty well on it. KM6CQ. Let's see how you heard me.
Big signal, Dan. 10-15 over minimum.
Wow, you're about 20 over, John.
You're doing good. Well, thanks.
Yeah, well, obviously he heard me just fine.
Evidently not. Do you have a fairly high noise level over there, Joe?
Yeah, it's about when I switch off the loop back to the, I've got a little like a 3.5 foot diameter aluminum magnetic loop that I've got up on a TV antenna rotor, and it's got a low noise JFET amplifier in the base of it, and when I switch to that, my noise level is about less than S2, almost nothing. But when I switch back to my Delta loop, my noise level's about an S7 plus, over.
That's about where I am here, S7 or so.
So I can copy Dan. Dan's still kind of going up and down. Sometimes he's pretty strong, actually. He's about S3 to S5, and then it just slowly drifts down until I can barely hear him again. So, but I caught his last one, over.
Okay, well, maybe you need some more gain in that preamp on the loop. I know there's quite a bit of loss on them.
Yeah, it's designed for low noise, so I've got a pretty high gain receiver. It's a TS590, so they don't recommend using a signal amp with this receiver because it's so sensitive. But when I turn on the amp, I do have a amp in the receiver. I turn that on, it brings it up about a couple of F units.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Dan, I think I'm going to get out of here. My wife got home. I'm going to go talk to her. It's been good talking to you guys, and thanks a lot for checking out the high-powered mixer again there, my KWS-1. And then, of course, Dan in here. You're sounding great. Good signal. Nice audio as usual.
Good. Well, Joe and Dave, it was nice to meet you, and glad to hear you guys on the air on 160 meters tonight. Sounding good, and I was able to copy both of you just fine. And my noise level, excuse me, my noise level still running around a S6. Completely flat tonight. No spikes or crashes or nothing, so it's kind of nice. And John, yeah, either radio sounds perfect. They sound the same. What more could you, what better praise can I give your setup? They both sound the same, and they're 60 years apart. It doesn't get much better than that. Anyway, great talking to you, John, and we'll look for you on Saturday morning. So hello to Maryland, and we will catch you later, all of you, KM60Q.
Okay, yeah, take care, Dan, and you as well, Joe, and I'm so happy to hear about your son-in-law. That's good news. Oh, what a treat. A blessing. So good for him. Take care. W6DAX is clear.
Good night.
73, K6AWA, I'll be clear. And, Dan, I did catch your last one, KM6DQ. Good hearing you. And you came up that time about S5, over.
Okay, very good, Joe. I appreciate it. Have a nice evening. KM6CQ.